Okay, I was asked a question about what tools would I need to take apart, actually what special tools I would need to take apart a Honda Express engine. So I thought I'd do a little video on that, and I'll also include the Urban Express engine and tell you about that as we go through it. But first, here is that crank from that Urban Express, and compare that to here's a Yamaha QT50 crank. Absolutely silent. We want something more like that. So let me get those out of the way. So we'll just go over every tool that you would need and some extras to disassemble a Honda Express engine. Now remember, the engines were basically the same, I think 77 through 80. And then 81 through 83 they went to a CDI, and I think they changed some other things. But why don't we start with the special tools that you would need? And I guess I'll start with this one. This one may not be so special, but this is your impact driver. It's about $9 and comes with different bits. Right up now I've got the Phillips head bit on. And this would come in handy for the 77 through 80 Honda Express engines, especially the left side cover and the intake, because Honda used these screws, 16 or 17 screws on the left side cover and 4 on the intake, and over time they become impossible to remove. So the way to use this is, if you want to loosen screws, you push it in and turn it all the way, I want to say to the right, but I guess it depends how you. So if I want to loosen screws, I push it in and turn it that way so that it can spin the other way. And if you want to tighten screws, you turn it all the way to the left. Let's see, to the left, so that it can tighten clockwise to the right. And then, not just for this tool, but you'd hit on it with a rubber mallet. At least that's my object of choice. And then the rubber mallet will come in handy to actually separate the case halves. I just bought a new rubber mallet because my old one was pretty much had it. Rubber mallet is a great tool for working on these bikes in general. Other special tools. Let's just stick it right here. I bought that clutch puller, and you can either find something similar probably at your auto parts store or make something like this. But this is to pull the now over the years they use slightly different clutches too, and I've had pretty good luck with this one on most of them. I haven't done all of them. So this was kind of hard to find. I'll see if I can link to it below. But I actually found it in Australia and just paid the money to have it shipped here, just to have it. This is great for stripping wires, cutting wires in case you need to do some wiring, and I don't even know what it's called. I hope there's more light than appears on the screen of this camera. Definitely need a piston stop for a 14mm spark plug. This is a medium length one. And then while we're talking about spark plugs, I bought this. It's a spark plug thread repair tool for your cylinder head in case somebody stripped out the threads inside your cylinder head where the spark plug goes. Usually not necessary, but good to have around. Actually, I went years, I just got this recently. I went years, never had a stripped cylinder head until the Honda NX50 I just got. Okay. For the Express and the Urban Express, I've got here several 2- and 3-jawed pullers. Here's a 2-jaw that can be converted to a 3-jaw puller. This works great for pulling, I call it the flywheel collar off of the Honda Express. Here's a slight, is this bigger? This is just a straight 3-jaw puller. I just used it in the Urban Express engine teardown video to get off that gear on the left side of the crank. And here's an even bigger one that I've used on the Urban Express. Same pulling off that gear on the left side of the crank. And I just bought those. It was like a 3-piece puller set. They all came together, and I think it was like maybe $30, maybe less, I forget. Now, actually I don't use this. This is intended for spark plugs, and it usually comes with like a little handle. These things are junk for that. So I recommend just getting this is a 13/16 spark plug removal socket. That's handy to have. Other special tools. This is a feeler. Oopsie, sorry about that. See if I can pop them out. These are feeler gauges. Great for ring gaps, mainly what I use them for. And I guess setting points. Other special tools. Oh yeah, this is the inch-pound torque wrench for your cylinder head bolts or nuts, depending on what you have. This is a foot-pound. I think it's also in, let's see, yeah, foot-pound and Newton meter torque wrench right here. Great for the flywheel nut and the clutch nut. Probably somewhere around 20 to 25 foot-pounds. You can generally tell the torque by the size of the nut or bolt that you're using. So for example, here's an M6 cylinder stud. So the nut that goes on this, or if you're using a cylinder bolt, is going to be around 7 foot-pounds. And then trying to think how big the flywheel nut is and the clutch nut is. Wow, it's definitely bigger than an M6. Anyhow, whatever size that is usually around low 20s foot-pounds. So I don't know. Had to figure out what size it is. On the Urban Express, this is the flywheel puller tool. This goes inside it like so, and then it screws on clockwise, and then you basically screw this in a 22 millimeter bolt, screw that in to push the flywheel off of the crank arm. On the Urban Express, this was like for some sort of like Toyota axle nut or something, I forget, but it's a 39 millimeter impact socket, and this is for the clutch nut on the Urban Express, not for the regular Express. And then obviously your metric wrenches, you'll need an 8, 10, 12, 14, and 17 for both engines. And just to the left of that, I have ratchets with the same range of sockets. WD-40 is always a great tool to have. Your razor blade for scraping off old gaskets off of like the cylinder and the case halves. Pliers are always good. Got an assortment of needle nose pliers and regular pliers for especially the needle nose for the circlips. And what else? Old toothbrush, and I think that's a brass wire brush with, and then on the other side are just a stiff bristled brush. They're good for cleaning up dirty engines. I don't even know why I have this. Do not use an adjustable wrench. I'm trying to think if I'm sure I've used this like once for something in a pinch, but adjustable wrenches are generally, they're just a bad tool. It's a good way to strip nuts and hurt yourself as well. Get rid of the adjustable wrench. You don't need it. And then finally, I think, now I may have missed something. If I did, let me know. Finally, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to think of other things. Let's not even say finally. What I've got here is a tap and die set. It's just a cheap set. I think I got it off Amazon for somewhere in the neighborhood of 25, maybe 30 bucks, I forget. It's metric. It goes from like M4 to maybe M12, I think. And this is a lifesaver. I don't know. I use this all the time. Usually the M6. I can pick out the M6 one because it's usually the most dirty, although I may have cleaned it off. Actually, I think it's this one. The M6 1.0. Matter of fact, I can't even read it anymore because it's... Where's the writing? I think that's just the way I have to identify it now. There's no writing on it anymore. It's been used so much. So the tap and die set, critical. Now, another great tool is the impact, I guess I'll call it an impact wrench, with the impact sockets, metric impact sockets. Make life a lot easier. Trying to think, let's take a quick look-see around and see if I'm missing anything essential. Well, yeah, I am. I can already think of it. Well, where do they go? A good set of drill bits, especially for drilling out broken studs and stuff, or broken bolts. This is the DeWalt titanium coated bits. Those are great. Matter of fact, you might want to have like 2 sets of drill bits. One for just, you know, regular use and one for drilling out broken bolts and cylinder studs. I gave up on all those extractor left-handed drill bits and those stupid extractor things. Matter of fact, I'll pull some out. Where did they go? Oh, is that 1, 2, 3? I know you're here. Don't hide from me. All right, we'll put you on hold. We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for this breaking news. We've gone to a different exhaust on the Express SR so that we could put the center stand back on. Life without a center stand is no fun. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Easy for me to say. All right, I found them. In the meantime, wire cutters. These might be specifically for fuel lines. My mom had these. I don't know. Someone must have left them at her house. I don't know where she got them. Maybe at a garage sale. These are great for cutting fuel line. Okay, extractors. They all suck, right? And you'll see why in a minute. If I kept any of the old, I bought like 3 sets of these things. And here's one that's not broken. Yep, here you go. Broken, right? Another one, broken. I don't even know what kind of metal these are made of. Another one broken. I broke a left-handed drill bit off in a case half. That sucked. That one wasn't broken, but gave up on all those. They're all crap. I mean, they work occasionally, but on this stuff that's so old and so rusty, that, you know, the broken bolts and cylinder studs just get rust welded in there. And the best thing you can do is get a nice, at least in my opinion, other than welding on like a nut or something, if you have the ability to do that, depending on how it broke off and, you know, access to welding stuff. But the best thing to do, I found, is, you know, take like one of your smallest drill bits, drill all the way through the broken bolt or stud, and then lubricating the drill bit from time to time and drilling at a slow pace. You know, I don't think there's any need to go full speed. You're more likely to break the drill bit. Yeah, you don't want to break the drill bit in it either. I've done that too. And then gradually working your way up. And I forget, let me think, 5/32 is about a quarter. So it might be work your way up either to the 9/64 or the 5/32. So that's even more than a quarter. And a quarter is bigger than M6. Anyhow, there's one of these that fits just inside an M6. And when you finally drilled almost all of the old broken bolt or stud out, then you can take your tap and die set and then take your M6 tap and just re-tap the threads, and it'll clear out the little remaining bit of the broken bolt that's still in the threads. That's been my way of going about that. So anyways, I think those are my essential tools for disassembling and reassembling, for the most part, the Honda Express and the Urban Express engines. There are some other special tools you could get. I've got a case splitter, but I've usually found that the rubber mallet is the, I mean, you can just tap the cases apart. I've only had to use the case splitter on a couple occasions, and I don't think it's ever been on an Express or Urban Express engine. I used it on a Chappie engine and maybe on the MB5 the first time, I forget. But and then depending, I guess one other tool set that you might need, depending on how things come apart. Usually when you knock the crank out of the case halves, the bearings stay in the case halves. Then you can just take a socket and put it over the bearing and knock out the bearing with a rubber mallet. But if the bearings come off on the crank itself, then you need a bearing separator puller set. And actually this wasn't too expensive. You'll need the smaller one, and you build yourself a puller out of this and to get the bearings off the crank. And then for reassembly on the crank, you really just need a freezer, your refrigerator freezer, to freeze the bearings. You want to heat up the case halves. I heat them up in my gas barbecue grill, and then drop the cold frozen bearings into the heated up case halves, and then freeze the crank, and then heat up the case halves with the bearings, and then pop the crank, the cold crank, into the hot case halves. So you don't even need any special tool for that. You need a toaster oven, maybe, your gas grill, and then your freezer. Or if you're daring enough, I guess you could use your oven to heat up the case halves. But I don't do that around here. Wouldn't be good. Wouldn't go over well. So, all right, I'll shut up. Jeez, man, quit talking. You know, I thought this would be like a short 5-minute video. Look how wrong you can be. Hey, thanks for watching. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments below, and I'll also try to link to a lot of this stuff.